This is Olive. This is Olive. She is my beautiful cat baby. I would say fur baby, but she's not got any fur because she's a sphinx. Welcome to my first ever YouTube video. This is Scented Spirit. I'm Frances, and this video is going to be a June card pull. So we're going to use a range of cards. We're going to use a tarot deck and an oracle card, and then we're also going to use astrological dice. So in this video I'm going to do a lot of card pulling, and then we're going to sit and reflect, and I'm going to suggest some activities that we can do off of the back of the reading to support ourselves through June. Let's see what the cards have to say. Let's roll our astrological dice. Okay, so we have got the 9th planetary house. This is the house of education and expansion, learning and knowledge. We have the zodiac sign of Pisces, the 2 fish. You can see that they're facing in opposite directions, so this can sometimes represent the duality of the mind, an internal struggle perhaps. Pisces are a sign of emotions, led by the water. They're artistic and dreamy and creative. And then finally, we have our planet. This one is this is the North lunar node. This planet represents growth and evolution of the self. So rather than something being intuitive, this is an active upwards motion of learning. So that's quite nice. We have the 9th house. These two kind of really sit well together. The North lunar node and the 9th house of really strong connection to learning and education and self-improvement. And then we also have the water sign of Pisces. So there's lots of emotions there. And creativity as well, so there's a bit of playfulness to bring into something that can feel quite academic. So for today's card reading, we're going to use the Tarot Original 1909. The artwork on this deck is by Arthur Edward Waite and Pamela Coleman Smith. It's really the traditional deck that we all know and love. I feel like this is one of my favourite decks just because the imagery is really clear. I feel like I'm able to glean a lot of information just looking at them. I think it's good for a beginner deck as well for that purpose, for that reason. Just giving them a good shuffle. I've set my candles and all my incense has gone out, so I'm going to relight that now. I'm just burning the Satya Palo Santo incense. It's one of my favourite smells. I'm going to cleanse the deck with the incense smoke, putting my intention into the cards and into this moment. I love that where I've paused is the Strength card, and I actually have this tattooed on my leg. This is one of my birth cards, so she's very special to me. Okay, so we're just going to shuffle the cards. I like to close down my eyes and take a deep breath. The amount of time I shuffle for really depends on each time. If a card jumps out, I like to keep it with me. Yeah, just kind of get a sense of when it's time to pause. This feels like quite a long time shuffling, but maybe that's what we need today. Okay, I'm going to pause there. Now we've had 2 cards jump out, so I might as well talk about those first, because they clearly wanted to be seen. So we have the Devil card. Hopefully I'll focus on that rather than my face. And then also the Knight of Cups. So we have a Major Arcana and a Minor Arcana. The Major Arcana cards carry a lot more energy. There's 12 in the deck, and they're not categorized into I'm going to call them houses. They're not technically called houses, but the houses like cups, wands, pentacles, and swords. So we've pulled the Devil, which I just love as a card. It's very gothic. We have the Devil there, and then 2 people. We've got chains. We've got some fire burning, some tempting fruit, gorgeous bat wings. So the Devil represents all that is tempting, the things that shackle us from getting to where we want to be because we're too busy being distracted by something else. So that's really interesting. If we think about the dice that we've rolled, this is all about getting to somewhere that we want to be, improving, self-improvement, knowledge, obtaining things that are going to bring us to a higher place. That ascending lunar node makes me think of like I'm going upwards and soaring higher out of where we are right now. And the Devil just reminds us that if we want to get to that place, we have to remove those shackles, have to remove those chains that are binding us to all that holds us back. And then we have the Knight of Cups. So the Knight of Cups represent the emotions, and we've got water in here, as we have in our dice. We have the zodiac water sign of Pisces. So there's a lot of emotions going on. There's a river flowing through this image in the Rocky Mountains that the knight is galloping through. The knight energetically is more of a adolescent. So there's energy there. You can see the horse has 1 foot up in the air. So he's like mid-trot, mid-gallop. So that means there's this kind of forwards trajectory. It's a positive card of following what we love and what we want to do. Perhaps in terms of love, there may be someone new that comes into our life. Or perhaps if we're thinking about in terms of self-progression, expansion and growth, it's that reminder to lead with the heart. The cup is out in front of him. I'm picturing kind of the carrot or the stick. So if we're using the carrot and the carrot's in front of us, here we've got the cup in front of us. That's what's leading the way. That's what's in our eyesight as we move forwards in this vast landscape. So those are the 2 cards that jumped out at us today, but I'm going to pull a few more from the deck. We've got the Page of Swords, the King of Swords, and the King of Wands. So we have 2 sets of swords and a wand. This is interesting because swords represent the mind, and whilst the wands represents the physical body, you can almost imagine the wand as the spine sitting tall. whilst I'm crouched over like a little goblin. So we have, taking the swords at first glance, we have two of the different ages. So we have a page which is younger than the knight energetically. It's more of a kind of childlike awe. Whilst we also have the king, who's well established and kind of is ruler and just in a much more mature and settled space. Having both of these in the same suit makes me think of our Pisces zodiac sign that we rolled on the dice earlier. We've got the fish. If we have a look at the symbol, if it will focus, they're facing. He's trying to catch my face. They're facing in opposite directions, and that's almost like there's a duality there. There's a two-ness, and here we've got a two-ness, but we've got an old and a young, a mature and a fresh kind of outlook. So this is interesting to me because if we're thinking about growth, evolution, self-development in a creative way, it's remembering that even though the goal perhaps is to get to this kind of position of a king where you know where you want to be, your soul's purpose is ahead of you and you feel settled, rather than kind of standing up and practicing your swing, you're seated in your chair, you're settled and you're self-assured. Even though that goal is to get there, it's not forgetting this childlike play. Pisces is the creative, dreamy sign. So it's remembering that whilst we're on this journey, there's so much fun in being a beginner. There's so much fun in trying and beginning and practicing and playing. We get so focused on the end goal sometimes we forget about the actual joy of learning and the joy of seeing something for the first time or through new eyes. And then we have our King of Wands. Our King of Wands is sitting there, again, seated, is settled. The body is settled, the body is calm. There's shoots growing out of the top of the staff there. These shoots show me that it's not a dead piece of wood. There's life still in it, and there's always life to grow and to change and evolutionize. We have beautiful crown, and I think there's geckos on the back of this chiffon backdrop, and there's a little gecko on the bottom. So I'd like to have a look at what one of my other books says about the animal gecko and the wisdom of them. But this suggests to me that the body, we need to come into that the settled self. We touched on the fact that Pisces are zodiac inspiration for this reading is a very emotional sign, and sometimes can be so ruled by the emotions it can cause indecision and difficulty of kind of knowing where to go. And especially when we're talking about expansion and education in our soul's journey and getting to where we want to be, that can feel really oppressive and almost to the point of inhibiting all decisions or actions that you want to take, because you're so busy thinking about what you could do, what you should do, you end up getting nothing done at all. So this King of Wands is saying to me that we need to become so settled in our bodies, soothing the nervous system, becoming grounded and self-assured and self-secure. So we have the devil reminding us of temptation, warning us of the things that are holding us back from getting to where we want to be, because that is our only major arcana card in this reading. I think this is one of the most important things to bear in mind when we're thinking about this expansive evolution, finding soul's purpose. It's like, okay, this is such a great time to think about where we want to be, but then we've got to be really realistic about what are we still holding ourselves onto, or what are we still latched onto that perhaps isn't as positive as we think it is, or as we want to convince ourselves it is. The devil just makes me think of when you've got the devil on your shoulder, you know you're not supposed to be doing something, but you're going to do it anyway. It's that playful energy that stops being playful after a while, and can actually be quite detrimental. So it's being really honest with ourselves when this card comes up, because it might not be so easy to recognize what it is that we're actually chained to or shackled to. So that's the first thing. It's observing what we're holding ourselves back from because of a deep connection to this temptation. Then we have the Knight of Cups, trotting along, moving forwards, a really positive omen of love and following love, moving towards love, driven by what we truly want. We have the Page of Swords and the King of Swords that I feel like come together. They're almost like a pair sitting opposite each other, like a mirror of each other, the younger self and the older self. Advice from the older to the younger, advice from the younger to the older, reminding us that we all get there, to that place of knowing, but to also enjoy the playfulness and creativity, having a lightness about ourselves as well as a groundedness and a dedication. This maturity comes with kind of more, I'm seeing like a slice. You know, there's like a decision to be made. There's order and justice. And there's all of these things. And then the sword in the page's hand is more swooping and rushing and softer movements. And then finally we have our King of Wands, seated, both feet on a little platform. Plants still growing out of our staff, out of the wand, knowing that there's still growth and energy in settled body, a grounded self. So to continue with this reading, I'm going to pull one of the cards from my Soul's Journey deck. So, the Soul's Journey cards are by James Van Praagh. They're really beautiful. They're a bit of a mess at the moment because I've had them spread out all over the floor. They've got this beautiful design on the back. And then each of the cards are really brightly coloured. And they have a mandala, geometric shapes, a word and a prompt. So I love to put one of these. And because we're talking about our soul's purpose and our soul's journey and the expansion, education, evolution of ourself in June, I'm going to give these a shuffle. I like to rotate my cards when I shuffle them. Sometimes long ways, sometimes width ways. It's almost like I'm going northeast, southwest. Getting that full full rotation, moving the energy all the way around. I feel like this wire wants to come out. I mean, I love these colours. So we have regret. I know that I cannot change the past. I think this is a really important card for when we're thinking about self-development, self-improvement. It's often that when we think about the future, we forget about the present. And when we think about the past, we're removed from the present. And all of these things hold us from being the best that we can be in the moment. And I think regret is one of the things that can really impact us in this way. When we're so busy thinking about, oh, if I did this, I should have done that. If only I hadn't have done X, Y, Z, then I would have been here. I would have been able to do that. And having regrets and having things that we look back to and blame for what's going on now, or what could potentially, hasn't even happened yet, but could potentially happen in the future, or in this case could potentially never happen in the future because of what happened in the past. It stops us from growing. And I feel like this whole reading has been about moving forward, the Knight of Cups, trotting along. It's been about the house, like the 9th house, astrological house of growth and expansion. It's all been quite wide and big, and I feel like regret makes us shrivel up small. It holds us back in a way that we can't always see for ourselves. And sometimes it's really hard to not think about the past and not make judgments or decisions based on it. But knowing that we can't change it is a little bit of a relief. It allows us a bit of a certainty that we often feel that we don't have. So I think that's a really key takeaway. Thinking about the things from the past that we're holding on to consciously, and perhaps the things that we don't even realise that we're holding on to. You think, oh, how can I realise something that I don't even know that I'm holding on to? Well, I think that's where journaling and self-reflection and self-observation starts to come in. And that's what I want to talk about in the next part of this video. We've rolled the dice, we've pulled the cards, but now what? What do we do with this information? And how can we use it to guide us through this next month and get to where we want to be? I'm going to read the extract from James Van Praag's book, From the Soul's Journey Life Cards, based on the card that we selected, which was regret. The soul doesn't know time. Time is a construct of the physical dimension. To your soul, there is only the big now. Think of the past as the now that has already been created, and the future as the now that has yet to be created. You don't have the power to uncreate the past, so let that go. Your power of creation lies in your awareness of the present. You have the power to not only create your future, but also create acceptance of your past. You should realize that there are the total summation of every single experience you have had. These experiences have helped shape you into the person you are today. Train yourself not to judge past events as good or bad, but as opportunities. What have you learned from the past that will help enrich your future? Focusing on the past and letting it dictate your direction of the future is taking your power away from yourself. You are the creator. You hold the power. Reflect on the lessons of the past and use your current power to create your bright future. Something that I think I'm going to do off the back of this reading is make a list of regrets. Make a list of things that I consciously know, so the things that are in the forefront of my mind that I can pull out and be like, oh, I regret that I did this, or I regret that I didn't do this. And just make a never-ending list, something that it's not like you have to have 3 or 5 or 10 or 20. Just write for however long. This way of list writing, never-ending list writing, is a really helpful way to take the pressure off and also know that you can keep coming back to it. It's not a static list that once in this journaling session, if you don't get it down, it's never going to be. You can keep adding to it and changing. So I think that would be the first thing that I'd recommend doing, is making a list of regrets that in the past are perhaps still holding on to. And then begin to work through the tarot. So the devil. I just get sucked into this card. I'm looking at it and I just get absorbed. I think it's all of the darkness of it. Make a list of temptations, of things that perhaps you might like to give up, stop doing, let go of, remove the shackles that you've got attachment to. A list of regrets and a list of temptations. And just having those sat in front of you, begin to notice any patterns that you're drawing out, any things that perhaps link together to each other, anything residual from the past that might actually be impacting these temptations that are coming on in your life right now. And then placing those aside, having a little moment to think about, so what have I learned from doing that exercise? What is this actually telling me? Because that question can bring up a whole new list, can bring up a whole new way of thinking. And then it's getting into our Pisces. Pisces is that dreamer, is the creative. So I think really playing into that and being our Page of Swords, practicing our swing. I think about what cup is driving me forwards. What is it that perhaps I'd love to do? Maybe that's too big of a question right now. Look at this little guy. He's so cute. So we were just talking about how thinking about our Knight of Cups, the thing that is driving us, can sometimes feel really, really big and scary and difficult and impossible. So what can we do to support ourselves in being more playful with that? Being our Page of Swords, swinging and playing, a lightness of foot. You can see he's got one foot kind of up on the ground, up on his heel, on his toe rather. Something that I like to do is drawing. I'm a terrible artist. No, I'm a great artist. I'm a terrible drawer. I guess actually neither of those things are true, are they? The stories that we tell ourselves come out, and that's what being playful is all about. It's putting those stories aside. Me saying I'm not a good drawer, I'm not a good artist, is something that then perhaps need to invite in, and steer into why that is, and how can we let go of that story that I'm telling myself. Because the whole point of art is that it's free and subjective. So stepping into that useful Page of Swords energy to help the cognitive sword, the thoughts, the vision for where we want to be on this evolutionary journey of finding our soul's purpose and what we want to do and who we want to be, is free drawing. So putting pen to paper is really difficult unless you are gifted in that department, which, as I've already mentioned, I don't feel particularly gifted in that department. But something that I've seen is, I'm just going to grab my notebook, is free drawing. So just sitting and beginning to doodle. I don't know if you were like me, but in class, along the edges of all my pages, there'd be little doodles, little flowers, love hearts. And then as you begin to sit and kind of meditate and breathe in it, just allow your wrist and your hand to do what it does, moving around the page. Page of Swords. So allowing this creativity to come alive, and I mean, I've made an absolute masterpiece there. And then what can you see within that? You can see a hot mess. But then perhaps I can draw something from this. I've got, let me sit a bit closer. Get nice up and close and personal. So I've got, I'm seeing a dog. Seeing his little paws. And I feel like he's being goofy. It looks like he's almost juggling the flowers that are on there. So this is almost telling me in a really crazy, and you've got to kind of let yourself be. Steer into the weirdness of it all. What is this asking me to do? He's juggling, and there's kind of playfulness, there's movement, there's dance, there's a looseness of limbs. Dogs are typically really happy little beings that bring a lot of joy. So where can I bring this silliness into my life over the next few days? For me personally, moving my body is a really important thing for my mental health. And in order to have a kind of structured and disciplined mind, secure self-assuredness of thought, and a grounded and settled body, this creativity and silliness and squiggles that I've drawn has helped me to think, okay, perhaps I need to go out where there are dogs so I can observe that animal being free and having a carefreeness. The wiggly limbs, maybe I'll find a way to dance, crank the music up at home while I'm doing the washing up or getting ready for work. I drew flowers instinctively because I love to draw squiggly flowers. If I'm doodling, that's the first thing I'll do. How can I bring some flowers into my life? How can I buy myself? I mean, go to Lidl and get myself some beautiful carnelians or something like that. It's ways to bring in beauty and creativity and beginning to have this sort of, in your dreaming state, you have things that don't quite make sense. You have imagery, you have things that would never happen in real life, or could never happen in real life. For example, a dog with 12 legs. It might have happened, but it's not usual. So going into this creative, playful, dreamlike way of looking at your lists, your regrets, your temptations, where you want to be, and just meandering through and playing along, so that we're getting to this place of self-understanding and self-awareness that can then guide us to this self-development. People think that we have to be really, and some people it works for, but a lot of us try and fit ourselves into a certain box and try and have really linear ways of learning that get us to the fastest point to where we want to be. But there's so much joy in this. It's the only way I can describe it, this messiness, the transversing, the perhaps spiral, and that image of, you think that you're going up to something, but if we're looking at a spiral, sometimes it can, like the planets, it can look like we're going back on ourselves. Perhaps we're going back to a child's play that we used to do as a kid that we wrote down. And then we might go into more of our structured king-like, and then we might move between the two, as Pisces fish do, swim round and round. So essentially, this reading for June speaks to me in a way of settled and stillness physically, coming back to real body relaxation, and I've got my blocks and my bolster behind me, things that can support us to be really grounded. But then there's also a real energetic, there's the Knight of Cups and moving forwards, there's that, the forwards trajectory. We have the North Lunar Node, which again speaks of growth and expansion and moving. The Page of Swords playing around. And then we have the Devil, and we have regret to remind us of the things that are holding us back, that are weighing us down and not allowing us to be this light-footed, free spirit, free being to evolve, grow and change. So I hope that you've enjoyed this reading for June. We've used our astrological dice, we've used our original tarot deck, and we've used the Soul's Journey cards. I'll put all the information down in the description box, and some prompts for the journaling that I've suggested throughout this. But thank you for coming along. Oh, and Olive's going to come in. She spotted a fly in the room that was joining us for this reading. Olive is here. He's over here. She's a wonderful flycatcher. So yeah, thank you so much for listening along, and I hope that you've taken something away from this that you might be able to support yourself with through June and through this journey that we're all going to be going on. I feel like life is constantly a journey of figuring out where we want to be, because even as we get to the King of Wands, there's still growth and there's still life in that. It doesn't mean that we're, no matter what age we are, even when we're at the top of our job game, whether when we become retired. I mean, my brother's just retired recently, and it's a really big life change. So it's then beginning again, even if we feel that we've got to an age where things have finished and we've stopped developing, we've stopped learning, we've stopped growing. It's never true. There's always time for relearning and remembering and beginning again. And I think that's what this speaks to. It's finding the playfulness, the creativity, the dreaminess, knowing what holds us back and what's tempting us and trying to lead us astray from where we're meant to be. Loving and accepting ourselves and supporting our physical body as well as our emotional and mental. thank you so much for watching, and I hope that you found this video helpful. I'll see you in my next video.